It's here. It's been a really stressful week here in the United States when it comes to the weather. Of course, some of the travel conditions arising out of that. And now, of course, a lot of bigger issues out there as well here. Right now, still grappling with some of the extremely cold temperatures here in the Northeast, the Midwest, and even out in the far West. And now, there's a lot of talk about something I never heard of before called an atmospheric river, poised to bring some heavy rain and snow to the Pacific Northwest and California. Pleased to say, to help us walk through this as well as so much more, is Jim Roemer. He is the founder of Best Weather, a company that has been advising hedge funds, farmers, and commodity traders with respect to both short and longer term weather impacts out there. Jim, always a pleasure to speak with you. Unfortunately, we only tend to speak with you when conditions are extreme, and I do want to start off with those extreme conditions that we've been seeing here in the United States. And give us a sense here of how rare what we're seeing is and how long it may last.
Yeah, we have a combination of La Nina weakening currently and also warming over the Arctic Circle that created unbelievable snowstorms. 2 blizzards in less than 3 weeks in Buffalo. Never really happened before. The last real severe winter we had was 1976, which continued for 3 months. But because of various other factors we see in the climate, we're going to be seeing a big warming trend, actually. So all this snow and really devastation around the eastern part of the country and the Midwest will be coming to an end. We're seeing both heating oil prices and natural gas prices sell off somewhat here because of the anticipation of a much warmer January ahead, luckily for a lot of folks.
Hey, Jim, how do you think about this, even longer term? Because it's interesting, you look at something like the wine industry, and there are places that they used to be able to grow that they can't anymore because it's gotten too hot. But there are places that used to be too cold that they now can. So there's a lot of movement around the world. Is that what we're going to see generally, or is it just really global warming that's going to make it very difficult for most regions or many regions of the world?
Yeah, obviously, there's been a lot of controversy. It's become very politicized, obviously, for years, climate change. I certainly believe in it. I won't go into it too much in detail right now, but the combination of La Nina with droughts in Argentina now setting the soybean and corn market on fire, the record warm summers we had globally, now this cold shell we had in December, is pretty much contributing to both from climate change perspective and also La Nina. So what we're seeing out west right now from historical droughts, 3 years in a row in California, like you say, the wine industry being affected by historical forest fires never really happened before in history. And now flooding is really a bad situation, obviously, for a lot of farmers and residents in the wine industry. The good news that we see from all this is above normal snowpack finally returning for the first time in several years to the Sierras. And that's going to mean that hydropower that was really not really around the last couple of years because of all these droughts. We'll see a big increase in hydropower next spring and summer. Thank goodness for people out west. And that can still put pressure on the natural gas market as well, because in the last couple of summers, we saw a switch from both hydropower to natural gas uses. That will change this year, next year.
Jim, it's not too early to say that, because in the past couple of years, we have seen snowpack look pretty good in the early parts of the winter, only to find that we weren't seeing that same precipitation later in the year. So it was a little disappointing.
Yeah, I think with La Nina finally beginning to weaken a little bit, we're going to see probably more and more storms bang into the West Coast here over the next couple of months. So I think that we could end up the winter, unless La Nina was to strengthen all of a sudden once again, with normal to above normal snowpack over the next 2 or 3 months.
Let's talk, Jim, a little bit here about some of the effects that we've seen from the extreme weather conditions, not just the snow and the cold, but also some of the extreme conditions we saw in the summer and fall, and the effect that that's had on the commodities space, particularly when it comes to the soft commodities and the crops.
Well, pretty much we've seen recently a rally in sugar, with La Nina bringing flooding to Thailand, the number 3 biggest exporter and producer of sugar in the world. That's been a bullish impact in sugar here in the last month or so. Coffee, we had a devastating drought about 1.5 years to 2 years ago. We had a freeze. The weather's actually improving in Brazil right now. So coffee prices have dropped from about $2.20 down to about $1.60 to $1.70 here in the last few months. The soft commodity space, the one particular market that may be under value that could see an explosive move if El Nino develops next summer, which is a warm ocean current. Right now we have that cool La Nina current weakening. Could be cocoa. We could begin to see some problems in West Africa over the next 3 to 6 months. The grain market, though, really is where the action is right now. We had a devastating freeze in Kansas and Oklahoma last week, historical. This is a very important time of year for the Argentina soybean and corn crop, the number 2 and 3 biggest producers in the world of grain. So we are seeing some real disruptions right now in the agricultural space, mainly grains in South America.
Hey, Jim, so we got to focus on grains. You just talked about some different things. And I feel like the Ukraine war also reminded us early this year that we all have to look at what's going on globally. 20 seconds here. What else do you think we should keep an eye on for 2023?
Well, I think certainly we have a bull market in grains right now. Pretty good news. I think the drought's going to ease for the Midwestern corn and soybean crops, and we could begin to see a major bear market actually this spring and summer in the grain market. Not right now, we're in the South American season, but next spring and summer, a much wetter weather pattern. And I think the highs in natural gas prices have been reached. I've been recommending in my Weather Wealth newsletter for a month not to buy into this rally and all the Ukraine and Russian hype. We're going to have probably a warmer winter on average, and after this cold snap this last few days, a much warmer January is in store. That's one of the reasons which natural gas prices dropped about 15 to 20% here in the last week.
Jim Roemer, founder of Best Weather, thanks so much for taking the time and joining us this afternoon. Really do appreciate it, and hope you